Fantastic. Welcome. Welcome to all of you. I'm delighted to welcome everybody here on behalf of TiE and EPPIC to our Life Sciences event this evening. This is a fantastic, intimate group, so I think we're going to have a great discussion. We have a fantastic panel of experts for you this evening. But what I like to do beforehand for every event is to set the stage about TiE for the people who have not been here before, who have not had the benefit of coming to our programs or any of the things that we've done. I would like to know, well, first of all, I'm Kiran Malhotra. I'm the Executive Director for the Silicon Valley chapter. A couple of housekeeping items. As you can see, we've had a little bit of construction done to the exterior of the building and affected the interior. So please excuse us for the wires that are hanging there. We're just about wrapping that up in the next 2 weeks. The other thing is, if you have to use the restroom, you'll have to use the restrooms on the second floor because the ones on this floor are being demolished and reconstructed. So you'll have to go down the hall and up the stairs to use those restrooms because the elevator isn't working either. Okay. So now I can get started. How many of you have come to a TiE program before? Fantastic. How many of you have not come to a TiE program before? Great. Did you know that membership is only 30 cents a day? 30 cents a day. Think about it. For 30 cents a day, you can come to TiE events at a discounted rate, our TiECon conference for a discounted rate. Some of our mentoring is free for members. That's priceless. So I would urge you, if you would like to become a member, for tonight, we will do the membership for $90 instead of $100 a year. We'll do it right now. If you go at this event in the next 10 minutes, get up right now, go. Patricia can help you with the membership. Or I can take your name, we can send you a bill later. That offer is good for 10 minutes, so it's okay if you get up and leave during my speech. So we were founded right here in the Silicon Valley in 1992 by a group of people who came here mostly from the South Asian region. And they came here with their education and their intellectual expertise and worked very hard, and this country rewarded them. And they became very successful beyond their wildest imaginations. And they did this without a lot of support. And so they came together and said, you know what, we would like to help other people like us to succeed. We'd like to pay it forward. And we would like to help support them and see this entrepreneurial ecosystem grow. So that's what they did. They came together on a monthly basis. They would tell their stories. They would bring other successful entrepreneurs at the time. And the network grew and grew. And here we are almost 20 years later in 57 cities, 57 chapters of TiE, and 14 countries with the sole purpose and mission of fostering entrepreneurship. Very, very unique. We have 3 major stakeholders of TiE. We have our general members, which a lot of you are the general members. We have our charter member community. The charter members are really the backbone of the organization. They're some of the founders of the organization. They are invited to be part of this community by other charter members, and we ask of them the most important and probably the most priceless thing you can ask of somebody, and that's their time and their expertise. And they give it to us, and they give it to all of you very freely. So they serve as the mentors, they serve as our board of directors, they serve as our chairs for these programs. All of the things that we do is because of the support of the charter members of TiE. And I have several charter members in the audience. In fact, a couple of the panelists are charter members. Could you raise your hands, please? All the charter members in the room, raise them very high. I'd like to point out just a few. We have one of our founding presidents, Mr. Kailash Joshi, who is also one of our panelists for this evening. We have another founding charter member, Mr. Nagesh Mathur, one of our panelists for the evening. And we have Vish Mishra, our current president. Everybody knows Vish? We have Venk Shukla, our charter member chair this evening. He's also on our board of directors. And Naveen Bisht, who is our program chair, he oversees all of the programming that we do at TiE. Thank you to all of the charter members for the fantastic support and the way that you have made this organization grow. Did I miss somebody?
No, I'm in the chair for the life.
Oh, that's later.
Oh, later. Okay.
Don't steal my thunder, please.
I
haven't forgotten about it.
I didn't know you guys had all these things.
But I did want to also point out Bakul Joshi, because Bakul was the first ED of TiE, so I had some very big shoes to fill in this role. So thank you to the charter members, because really without all of you, without them, this just does not happen. This doesn't work at all. So our third community of stakeholders are our sponsor community. So the charter members are the backbone, the sponsors are the lifeblood of TiE. So without them, we couldn't do the programs that we do. They are some of the big VC firms and the law firms and the corporate and the service providers, and they come here because they want to be part of this ecosystem. So those are the three major stakeholders of TiE, and the fourth stakeholder is out of all of these three stakeholders, and that's our volunteer community. One of the most amazing and unique things about TiE is that aside from my small staff, which are paid staff, everybody else is a volunteer. So that means they volunteer their time. Everybody from the people who help us with registration at the door, Dan, who is our trusty volunteer who takes pictures and video of every event, to our charter members, to everyone who helped, the panelists. All of you are volunteers who do this because you really believe in the mission of TiE, and you really believe in giving back. So thank you to all of you who volunteered in one way or the other to making sure that this is a success. We do about 50 to 60 programs during the year, just like this one. We have them across all the technology verticals. We do TiE Women's Forum, also a growth company forum. We do a networking mixer, which is purely networking forum for you. We just launched a program called My Story in March, which we feature every month a successful entrepreneur who has become successful in the last 6 to 18 months. The last one for the year is going to be on December 6th, featuring Vikram Joshi. So don't miss that one. That's become a very successful program. And then I wanted to point out another successful program that we launched just a little over a year ago, called TiE Angels. TiE Angels is a seed forum here at TiE. So we've got mentoring, we've got all the programs which provide education and deep industry expertise, and then we've got a seed forum. And we think that these three things are key ingredients in helping the entrepreneur on the first rung of success of their ladder. TiE Angels has become very, very successful. In the year that we've had the program, we funded 10 companies to around $3.5 million, with 4 more in the pipeline. Companies are seen once a month on a regular basis, and applications are accepted on a rolling basis. And we actually have the chair of TiE Angels, Mr. Venk Shukla, here with us. And I encourage you, if you have a company or you know somebody who's looking for seed money, I encourage you to apply to TiE Angels. If you need any information on that, you can visit our website, or you can talk to Venk or myself or Vish this evening and talk about it. It's become a great program. Lastly, I'd like to talk about TiECon. I'm sure many of you have been to TiECon. TiECon is really the showcase of the best of TiE and all of TiE. So all the things that we do throughout the year are showcased in a huge way at TiECon. 2 days of fantastic keynotes, excellent content, and fantastic networking. We are pleased that this year TiECon was recognized by Worth Magazine in the top 10 conferences for ideas and innovation. We were listed along with TED and World Economic Forum and several other conferences that, by the way, are for-profit and that hire people to help them run the conference. TiECon is done by volunteers. Amazing accomplishment for us. So I encourage you to put those dates on your calendar, May 18th and 19th. Lastly, I would like to thank the TiE staff, which is very small shoestring staff at the moment. You met Patricia. Thank you for all the hard work, and thank you to the board of directors. And without further ado, I'm going to quickly like to introduce our life science chair for TiE, which is Ram Reddy. Ram is instrumental in helping drive the life sciences program at TiE. And then I would like to introduce Jagat Reddy. He told me we could call him Jag. From EPPIC, to do a little intro on EPPIC and then get this program moving. So thank you all for your attention.
Okay, thanks Karen for the very nice description about the TiE. Whatever she described about TiE, 80% true for EPPIC too. Let's put that a very simple summary. So I'm not going to repeat all those words. But she did an excellent job.
Do you do EPPIC-Con?
We don't like to copy everything.
Oh, okay. Good answer.
So EPPIC is a 13-year-old organization. It essentially started with the footsteps of what, to fill the vacuum what TiE created in a way. I think that notion to have a forum for creating a forum for life science professionals, mentoring, networking, and promoting life science events, as well as US India synergy, building that synergy among life science community. And we are predominantly Bay Area based organization, even though our members come from outside Bay Area too. And with respect to events, we do mostly quarterly events, but our biggest event is the annual event. It's the annual conference we do that is January 2nd Sunday, day before JP Morgan. And the coming year, it's January 8th Sunday. And the theme is going to be emerging markets and emerging technologies. And we're going to be focusing on personalized medicine and preclinical CROs, biosimilars and biologics. And another interesting is the speed pitch. Means the startup companies can present 5 to 10 minutes quick presentations to get exposure to the VCs for fundraising purpose. So, and our annual conference co-chair Ramani Iyer is right there. And Ramani is also incoming president from January 1st. So actually this happens to be my last event as a president of EPPIC. The past 2 years I've been taking care of the organization as a president. And I'd like to highlight a few people, key people who established EPPIC. Nagesh, who is our founding board member, and he's been board member here today. And I'm proud to say he's the most active board member actually for EPPIC. And he has been mentoring many people, and he continued to mentor actually. Today's event is basically is the idea, so which I think that was great. And we also have other board members here. Ram Reddy is also a big board member. And Ravi Kiran is also board member. And again, I already said Ramani is our incoming president. And we have many charter members, about 25 charter members. And who again, sort of backbone of EPPIC too. And without that, there are a lot of people they could sponsor as a guest host today because of that. And it's because of their generosity actually this happens. And again, EPPIC is very small, but very effective. And we run with, again, 100% voluntary effort. We don't have any paid employees here. It's a very small organization, but that's what it runs. And today's event, as you all know, is corporate entrepreneurship in life sciences. And Dilip sir is our moderator. He's going to take over. But before he's going to take over the event, I would like to briefly introduce Dilip and why he's excited about this event. He's been actually doing mentoring and coaching for past 20 years, and he's very expert in the field. And he wrote many books, especially 5 books and many other publications on career management and leadership. So we couldn't have forced any other but Dilip for moderating this session actually. That's indeed a great opportunity for us to directly interact with Dilip. And again, he is a LinkedIn #1 career coach, and he coached over 5,000 professionals globally. And he is starting as an engineer. Dilip has gone through 5 different careers in 5 different industries. So that can, from all across all the industry, take from IT to life sciences to all the industries, professionals he coached. And he is a graduate from Stanford and IIT Bombay. And he's also a chief mentor at Mentor Cloud, mentoring knowledge sharing platform from Ranjan based on Silicon Valley. Dilip.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everybody, and thanks for coming. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite the panel to come to the podium here and take their seats. And once they're seated, I will briefly introduce them. And the way we're going to do this, please. Thank you. So the way we're going to do this is a very intimate group. And so rather than making it formal and stiff, we're going to call this a fireside chat. So feel free to raise your hand as we present a topic or raise something that might be curious of or interest to you. And then the right person, I'm playing the role of the moderator, but these people are very senior. In fact, Nagesh has been my mentor for a long time, so I defer to them, to their wisdom, and I will try to manage the flow between the questions and who the right person would be to answer. So let me first start by briefly talking about each of the panelists, starting with myself. I, as Jack said, have gone through 5 careers. And the reason, this is my 5th career, I shouldn't say I've gone through 5 careers, I've gone through 4, this is my 5th career. And what I found was that I've been laid off 3 times in my life. And my first layoff occurred as head of engineering at a company called Varian here, when they closed down the division. I was 48 years old, 48, 49, that was 20 years ago. And at that time, I had a choice to make whether I should go back into engineering or do something completely different. And I came to realize at the time that if at 48 I got laid off, what will happen if I stayed as head of engineering and I got laid off at 58? And I did not have a good answer, so I decided to completely change my career at that time. And what I found was that 20 years ago, it was very difficult there were no career coaches. This is back in the late 80s. So I had to kind of bootstrap myself to learn how to do that. And then as I progressed, I got better at it. And I've done that 4 times now. And now I kind of show people how to do, reinvention. So basically, that being my background, I just want to put the context that I have worked with about 5,000 people globally since I started this reincarnation, which is just when the valley went down in 2000, 2001. That's when I became a career coach. And through that, I have learned a lot about what are some of the patterns when you try to reinvent yourself. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to present some of those findings or patterns that I have seen in people that I worked with, as each one of the experts here are going to share their evolution of how they became corporate entrepreneurs with I and became both best of 2 worlds, which is having the security and the backing of a corporation and being an entrepreneur to do what you want to do, what you love to do, which is really best of both worlds. So I'll talk about that, the advantage of being that sometime throughout the presentation. So with that said, I would like to now introduce each one of the panel members very briefly. And the reason I'm going to keep this brief is the story they're going to tell you will tell you about how they became who they became. So no matter how much I talk about them, it'll not be as powerful as what they're going to say. So I'm going to keep the introductions very brief. First, Nagesh Mhatre. He's actually my inspiration and he's my mentor. He has been my mentor for the last 20 years. He has been president of Becton Dickinson. He has worked through the biopharma industry through his entire life. And as he will tell you, that he started as an individual contributor and how quickly he tapped into this entrepreneurship and got to where he got to very early in his life. And he's going to share his adventure. The second person here is Kailash Joshi. He has been a very senior executive at IBM. He has a very interesting story, and I think I will let him share that story with you. And sometimes, and the gist I get out of that story, because I've heard that a few times, I've known Kailash for 20 years. In fact, he and I were involved in the first TiECon we did in 1992, I think. Is that right, 92?
94.
Yeah, so 94?
94, yeah.
Yeah, so since then, he and I have been connected, and we share our stories. And the thing he will share with you, that he was fighting something, and somebody has to force him to change his course and let him tell the rest of the story. So sometimes you need somebody to help you change your mind, to point you in the right direction, and that turns out to be the right direction for you. The third person we have is Klaus Hambuschen. Is that right? Perfect. Close. And he has been a senior executive at Siemens Medical, and he brings a lot of intrapreneurial experience in sharing how he kind of grew from basically being an engineer in a German company to heading large operations of a very large company. So with that said, I would like to bring Nagesh to the podium and share his story with us. Nagesh.
Recovering from a knee operation. Normally I can walk like this. Sit there.
Yeah.
No, I'm comfortable standing so I can watch who's sleeping.
Oh, darn it.
And myself to keep awake. Just to preface to this conference, I was sitting over here about a month ago, and there was a TiE program, and Kailash was on the program, and they were talking something along these lines about career development and their experience. It was awfully inspiring story of each one of these guys. And the crowd here the room was pretty full, and because they were all TiE members, you know, and they asked very good questions, and they didn't want to go even it was 9:30 coming on. So I said, this is a very good idea, except there was nobody from EPPIC, and I said, why don't we do this for EPPIC? And so I talked to Jagat, and he said, yeah, that's a great idea. He's always one step ahead of me. He said, why don't we get TiE in all of this? Well, I had put down as medical life science, corporate intrapreneurship in life science. Well, the life science word probably turned off a lot of time. This is not just life science, this is about life. Okay, that's just a short beginning. I just thought about both, we three sat down and talked several times about this program, how we present it. And one of the things we unanimously came up with, not give a sermon, and not preach anything. Tell stories. And so that you energize people to ask questions in their own circumstance and see how we have a longer dialogue on some of the specific points that we want to make rather than how I won the victory stuff. And you can read that. So let me start by saying this. One of the things, there are several points I want to make, and I will tell stories alongside as they come. One of the things was risk-taking. And how do you decide to take a risk in a given situation? And what prompts you to take the risk? What is it required? Just before that, let me say quickly, big advantage of a large corporation is you can get educated very fast. You understand structure, you get a lot of advantages. Whereas entrepreneur who just finished his PhD and starts his shop has very difficult time. You know, he doesn't have advantage. You get work for HP or Genentech, but he sees how the organization works. But that's later on to sustain an organization. You need that structure, understanding, management, and all that. Having said that, let me go back to risk. When I look back, 57 years ago, I'm still young, and I was in Mumbai, and I had to make a decision, what shall I do? I got my degree and all of that. So the risk was, my family wanted me to go to England, and my grandfather wanted me to be a barrister, you know. Those were the days that people talked like that. And I said, no, I want to go to America. And why America? Not much was known 57 years ago. I had no relatives here, nobody. But that was a challenge. So what I had to do was spend a lot of time at USIS. We had a big library in Mumbai. And I read just about every book on what institution was there, where it was, what subject to take and all that, just to do the data management, find out. But then on the other hand also, my heart was in America because I saw a lot of movies, you know. And Then finally I had to make a decision. And the gut feeling was, take the risk and go to America. And so that's a risk that, because we had a very comfortable life where wonderful things were around, didn't need to leave the country. There was no political asylum or economic depression or anything like that. But you had to take a risk. And the risk was to leave the country and come here. And I'm sure, I'm telling you, that most of you in this room have done this thing, taken that risk. Now, how do you, and I'll repeat this part, is it all intellectual data gathering alone that makes you take a risk? I said that's not enough. You have to have some emotion about it, why you want to do it. And finally, you must ask your gut, your ball, is this the right thing to do in spite of all the risks that are around? Let me give you a second example of risk taking. I was head of a research department at Miles Laboratories, which was bought by Bayer, a German company. And there's a long story, I'll make it very short. And all of a sudden, I had never run a business. I didn't even sell lemonade on the corner like somebody has. And I didn't know much about P&L statement, even finance. The chairman of the company, for this complicated reason, called me and asked me whether I will go to Israel to run a company. I said, I don't know. I don't have a business background. And he said, I went to Harvard, got my MD, and I come in and run this company. Do you think I went to business school? I said, Walter, you're right. So I had to look at all the risk that was involved, moving the family from Elkhart, Indiana to Rehoboth, Israel. So I had to do a lot of homework, and I wrote a report, 35-page long report. I went there and did study and all that. And what I saw there, I was very attracted, emotionally also, to the whole history behind the creation of the country and all this, a new frontier. That was emotional. Finally, I had to consult my boss, my wife. And we sat down and we talked about it. First she was saying, no, we're not going to go. And I have 2 kids and we don't know the Middle East, And so anyway, we made a decision. That was a gut feeling that is going to work. So we went there. That was a risk. A lot of our friends told us this is a foolish thing to do. To leave the good job you are the head of the department and it's comfortable, we love this place and all that. So there is another example of risk taking, making a decision. How do you make that decision? As I said again and again, you have to have data, information, all that you can get. You have to have some emotion about what decision you're making. And thirdly, you rely on your ball, gut, so that you're going to do it and you can do it. So that was another example. The other thing I always found that it is very important to leverage a lot of knowledge that is around you. And it's surprising that a lot of time, knowledge comes from a place that you don't expect. My first breakthrough in science didn't come through my knowledge of biochemistry or engineering and all of those things. It came because of my wife was doing a research which involved fractional factorial design, statistics. I used that technology, a statistic, to a problem of making enzyme in large quantity. In 3 months we had results. It was like a miracle. Everybody. So you have to be able to think out of the box, listen to other people. Let me give you another example. Listening to other people, where the ideas come from. I was preparing a major presentation to the corporate board and the chairman of the company, Becton Dickinson, regarding competitive position that we were in, the division that I was running in Europe. And I came home, my son, who was 13 at that time, going to school in Geneva, in Switzerland. And I said, let me try on him, see what he said. In those days, we had transparencies. So I showed you these transparencies, not PowerPoint. And so I said, what do you think about it? He said, Dad, you can have a fourth dimension. I said, what is the fourth dimension? He says, put on time frame. I said, fantastic idea, And so I went and presented this, and the chairman asked me, where did you get this idea? I said, my 13-year-old told me. And that's a true story. So if you listen to other people and leverage the knowledge and the information they have, there's a lot you can gain. So these are some of the points that I thought I'm making sort of telling my own life history. I have gone, you see, on average, I'm told that today, on average, person changes their job every 3 to 4 years, not more. But if you are in a corporation, you can stay in the company for 30, 40 years and change the job within the company every 3, 4 years. That's what I've done. I was first 4 years research scientist, then I was head of the research department another 4 years. Then I ran a joint venture in Israel for 4 years. Then I ran another division in Naperville, Illinois. And then I ran business development, Becton Dickinson, for 2 years. And then I was president of Becton Dickinson Europe for 3 years. Then I came back here, and it was a very starting company, small group, like startup, called Monoclonal Center and Fax Division. And that is a $1 billion operation. But after I retired, I have continued to work with entrepreneurs and help startup companies. I've invested in and worked with 10 different companies, and then I joined this group, Halo Fund, where we make in an organized way the investment so that I get to see today at least 3 companies every 10 days. Very fascinating, very fantastic ideas. Stanford is the hub for all the unique ideas. And Klaus and I work together on the new ideas, the new companies that come, and help the entrepreneurs to move on. So that's in brief, I thought I'll share with you, which hopefully you can ask questions. And as I said, I won't go into the whole life history and all that. One last thing. I think one of the most important decisions is who you select your lifetime partner. And you have to leverage that. Every time you make a decision, you go and find out there's knowledge there. And we've been married now 51 years. And like this morning, I said, I want you to hear what I'm going to say. Tell me what you think. I got some criticism or things I was going to tell you. So leverage that, and that decision, lifetime partner, was an important one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lee, would you please stand up and Lee, Nagesh, wife over there. No, please just stand up. Okay, thank you. Just come on, get up. Let people see you.
Thank you, Nagesh.
All right, take a good look at Lee.
Hey, Lee, why don't you stand up for a minute, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. Everybody needs an inspiration.
51 years.
Pardon me? Yeah, right. Okay, Kailash, would you like to come here or would you like to speak from there?
I can walk and talk.
Walk and talk.
Thank you, Jagat and Dilip and Nagesh, and thank you all for coming. I think it's an interesting discussion. I always also learn something from the other panelists and from the questions you ask. It gets us thinking deeper. I think I'd like to start with the last point that Nagesh made, and that has to do with spousal support. And I think it's important whenever you do, when people come to for mentoring to me, one question I always ask them is, what is the position of your wife or husband on this subject? And that don't do it unless you have a 100% transparency of information with her or him, and that he or she subscribes to the risk that you're about to undertake. That is one of my fundamental principles I share. And Lee, so it's good to see you after some time. Lee, and we're going to have dinner together soon. Nagesh and I keep talking about it. Okay, wonderful. Okay, great. So, but unlike Nagesh, I'm I came to the US a decade after him, almost about 1963. For most of you, you were not born then, so you wouldn't know. But we left India with $8 in our pocket, an admission to university, and some promise of some financial support. And so we were driven not by risk, we were driven by naivete. We were so naive, it's not even funny. So I had a class, I studied at Bangalore Institute of Science, we had a class of 21. We all applied, and 19 of us got admissions, either England, Cambridge, or Oxford, or Ivy Leagues. It's a good school in India, so we are a pretty good entity actually for admissions. So everybody got out. We hadn't the slightest idea. We never asked that question. Supposing things don't work out, we had no relatives, we had no family, we had no friends. We only had some people who had preceded us, classmates, our seniors we used to call them. Some at Harvard, some at Princeton, whatever. So we could call them. In fact, I asked for $10 from one of the guys for my application when I was finished. He said, I don't have $10. So we came. So naivete brought us here. And we also did not have any clue that we may settle there and have children and have culture and have language and have marriages and children. No, we had no clue. So we came with a total blank, dream machine naivete when we left India. I left India anyway, and I think most of my peer group in that time did. Later on, people got smarter, they got a little bit more money, they got like $200, and they had relatives here and all that stuff. So, but things worked out, and I'm thankful, of course, that things did work out. So what I'm going to do, and I think that basically my message is very simple. It's not about professionals or anything. It's about you getting up in the morning and looking at the mirror when you are shaving. So my next few minutes, I'm going to share with you something that if you can confine to that time frame, that's what I'm talking about. So I'm going to, if I tell you I'll send you home today with a prescription for a pill, it's a virtual pill. You don't have to buy it. You can fill it yourself. You have to take it in the morning when you are looking at a mirror each day, and you take it for 90 days, and you will definitely get results. And if you get results, I'll give you an authority to keep refilling that for the rest of your life. So that is my simple proposition for you. If you don't believe it, then you don't believe it, but let me just finish the thing, and then we'll ask a question at the end of my few minutes here to see if it makes sense to you. So let me ask you 3 questions. My first question is, and by the way, I've studied this subject for 30 years. You know, I've been technical, management, all that stuff, but this has been my most favorite topic, which is humanity and attitudes and our perceptions of life. That's my very deep subject. The first question I ask you is, how many people in this world who work, do you believe, enjoy what they do? Is it 30%, 40%, 70%, 90%? What percent of the people do you believe enjoy what they do? Just throw me some number.
30.
Excuse me? 30%. Yeah, it's about below 30. 30% or less. 70% or more people in the world, everywhere, in every society, go home cursing what they do in the morning. The boss, the job, when I'm stuck, that is a 70% plus. And at the end of the day, they go home and they unload that to their spouses and children, and they show abuse and all kind of stuff. They also develop blood pressure, all that kind of problems. That is the size of the problem. Number 2, do you believe that what things that happen to you, good or bad things in life, professionally, are because of the way you get branded along the way? In other words, smart guy, go-getter, gets the job done, lazy bum, don't trust him, blah, blah, blah. These are called branding statements. Do you believe these branding statements are created by other people or are created through your own behavior? We are getting branded every day. I get branded, I know. I know that, oh, Josie, oh, he talks too much, whatever the people say. Right? So we control our branding. By the way, we also control our satisfaction. That's the first thing I talked about. People who go to whistling to work, they control it. Nobody else is doing it. The third thing, you know that everybody wants to grow in a career. I want to become a director, I want to become a vice president, I want to be a CEO. But do you believe that most people really don't believe in it? They just say it, and they expect somebody to throw some opportunities at them, and they don't want to work on it. Do you believe that people have that as a dream machine as opposed to a pursuit, a growth of career, and then they create frustration because they're not getting promoted? You don't even know what to promote to, or whether the job exists. So do you believe that's the truth or not? So those are the three fundamental issues in front of each one of us as human beings in our work situation. One is satisfaction from what we do. Number two, how we get branded. The branding is what makes you a CEO or keeps you on the computer terminal for the rest of your life. That's what makes it. If somebody is looking at you and saying, no, he can't do that job. And always see him doing tick on the computer all day long, How are you going to be a CEO, How do they get the customers? And the third thing is career growth. Aspire for it only when you're working on it and you have a clear objective. So those are my three fundamental frames. And unfortunate thing is that in our society, because this whole concept of occupations and professions is about a little over 100 years old. It happened in the Industrial Revolution era. Before that, there was no such thing as going to an office or going to a factory and going to customers, having a boss, having a performance plan, having a compensation package, having stock options where you begin to get disgruntlement, dissatisfaction because things are not matching. So this is a very new phenomenon. So for dentist, toothache, you go to a dentist. For headache, you go to a doctor. When you have a job ache, which is 70% is the biggest chronic disease. The biggest chronic disease, and don't laugh, the biggest chronic disease in the world is not heart attacks, it's not cancer, it is job aches. And they're chronic. And people spend their entire life living this disease. No pills, no treatment, no doctors, no job tests, no place to go. So the recipe I have for you is that one pill. I call it SBG pill. Satisfaction, branding, and growth. It's a pill that you, every morning, you wake up, when you go to the mirror, shaving, you say, oh, I have to take that pill. And the pill is basically a reminder to you, nothing more. It says, Charlie, tell your name, whatever it is. Charlie, the steering wheel for satisfaction, for branding, and growth is in your own hands. And Charlie, if you begin to blame others, think like you're on a buffet. You're looking at some food that you don't really like is very bad. So that reaction of blaming others should be looked at as bad as that food you look at and say, I don't want that food. So if you can take away from this discussion that pill tonight and fill your own prescription, try it for 90 days. I will guarantee you absolute results. You will see the benefit of this thought in your attitude about yourself, your self-respect, the fact that you want to do a little bit more reading, you want to be a little bit more competitive, you want to be more respectful to people, you want to be dressing a little bit better, talking to people more sense, whatever it is, you decide, okay? You will find a value in that pill. So that is my summary of my thing. Now I'm going to give you just two simple examples because Nagesh put that out there, so I have to share that. One of our discussions I was telling him about two experiences I had in my career at IBM that I thought made a very big difference to me. I finished my PhD and I joined IBM as a staff engineer. I was very technical. I was having a great time with inventions and all that stuff. And I had about 6 of us hired as PhDs. Colleagues, one from Stanford, one from MIT. Anyway, 6 of us. And we got working. And some meetings we would get into a very big discussion about some theoretical things we were doing on material science. That was my specialty. And one of my colleagues used to make some propositions that were not making too much sense. So at the middle of a big meeting, I kind of said something like, hey, that doesn't make any sense, it's stupid or whatever like that. So one of the directors, one day he said, Kailash, after the meeting, he says, let's go have a cup of coffee. The guy named John Serafin, he's still my mentor, he's about 85, wonderful man. He was a PhD also, so he took me to his office. It was Endicott, New York, where IBM was founded, upstate New York, beautiful place. His third floor office, he had this big office. I'd never been to his office before. He also had a private bathroom, so that was a big thing at IBM. If you had a private bathroom, you had really accomplished something big. So he said, let's get a coffee. So I got a coffee. And he said, see my office? You like it? He's like, yeah. I said, Don, this is beautiful. And he says, did you see my private bathroom? I said, yeah, I didn't know you had about it. He said, by the way, you're going to have these one of these days. I said, I don't know. What are you saying? He said, no. He said, you're on track to take this job. I said, anyway, I was shaking my head. He said, I'm going to tell you something. He said, the way you sometimes treat your peer group, you kind of really put them down. And, he said, you don't want to do that because you want them to work for you. Someday you want everybody around here to work for you. And so it would be a good idea for you to tone down a little bit, be a little bit more patient, smile a little bit more, be a little bit more respectful, regardless of how stupid ideas are. Just be gentle, and don't say whatever you have to say. Don't just say skip it, And so Don's advice transformed my personality. I would not say 100%. I still get impatient at times, but I would say he moderated my personality about 70 to 85%. Just that one session, he was my biggest advocate. He pushed my career way up. That's the first one example I use to people, that listening. I think you made a point about 13-year-old making a great idea, suggestion. Listening, I think, is a very big gift if you can listen and take it and make something out of it. The second thing happened to me was I had decided to remain very technical because I was good at it in the beginning. At IBM, what they would do is, there would be a lot of openings every day. There was some management openings everywhere. And they keep throwing at you and say, hey, you're a candidate for my manager will say, by the way, they want to talk to you about management job. I said, no, I'm not interested. So I would just stop. Now the 6 times I stopped it. No more, no discussions. So about 6 months later, or some John Keffer, one of our directors, he called me on a Friday night. He says, hey, wise guy. I walked into the wise guy. I was in my late 20s. He said, how are things? I said, having fun, John Keffer. This guy was also very tough, he was kind of a cowboy kind of guy. He said, you're really acting tough on us. I said, what do you mean? He said, we've offered you management job 6 times. You don't want to even be interviewed. I said, John, I really enjoy the technical stuff. I want to become IBM fellow. That's a very big benchmark at IBM. And I think I can get there fast because I got some great ideas I'm working on. And he said, well, you know something? We want to make you one more offer. I said, John, I think we're wasting. I really think you're wasting your time and my time. Let's not do it. He said, why don't you sit down? He says, so what we decided to do is to offer you a job as a second-level manager. So you don't have to be a first-line manager. You become a second-level manager, you skip. And your current manager will also report to you. So you'll have 6 people, 6 management groups, and he will be one of the people reporting to you. I said, that's going to be a little awkward also, don't you think? And he said, no. He said, we know you can do it. You can manage it. We talked to him also separately and all that. So I said, John, I don't know. He said, why don't you think about it? And Monday morning by lunchtime, we'll go for lunch together, and you be prepared to tell me, yes, you're going to take it, and then we can announce it Monday evening. Okay, so I was, now I shake my head, leave their office, and I went home, of course, my late wife. She was very thoughtful. I told her, I said, these guys are not letting me be alone on this thing. And they have thrown this at me now, and she said, supposing, she said, yeah, so supposing you take a job and you're not successful. You fail as a manager. It can be very important. You're just jumping into a big responsibility. If you've never managed, never been to MBA school, that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, then I failed, then I go back and become technical, and I just live happily ever after. He says, oh, good. And she said, supposing you're successful. Then I said, no, I have to give up that technical stuff, and I'll be moving into management direction. She said, is that bad? Or I said, no, I don't know. It may be okay. But all these guys seem to have played a lot of golf and stuff. senior guys. She said, why don't you take it? Anyway, I took it, and I just never looked back. It was a great decision. I got great support from the team. My career just kept moving. I became the first non-white vice president IBM, so it became a good accomplishment from that one decision. But not to brag about it, but the fact that sometimes opportunities present to you, and you have to be thoughtful and listen to. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Kailash, that was wonderful. Okay, so the way we're going to do this, Klaus will be the next person to tell his story, and now that we're kind of making this up as we go along here, because as I said, this is a fireside chat. And after Klaus finishes, I'm going to talk briefly about my own experience in the patterns that I see, because I've worked with about 5,000 people now, career coaching and mentoring, since I started this avatar 10 years ago. So I have kind of codified those patterns, and I want to share them with you to see if you can relate to those patterns in the way your career is evolving. So after I do that, after Klaus's talk, I will have this brief conversation with you, and then we'll open it to Q&A. And before I do that, we had asked in our announcement that if you could bring your own career challenges in whichever form that you think will allow you to kind of address them, we would like to kind of have those to talk about. So how many of you have actually thought through that this is my career challenge? I'm not going to ask them now. When we finish this round, we would like you to kind of start with that as a kind of a launching pad for